It's time to get your checking account to zero with free checking from PenFed. That's zero ATM fees, zero balance requirements, and zero time spent waiting for your paycheck to direct deposit because you can receive it up to 2 days early. Open your account with just $25 and see how big zero can be. Apply online today at PenFed.org/free checking. Early direct deposit eligibility may vary between pay periods and timing of payers' funding. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
PenFed's got great rates for everyone.
Welcome back to the podcast. My guest today is Juneau resident and store manager of the Sportsman's Warehouse up there, Dallin Hanchett. He's been on a few times, and we've talked mostly waterfowl, but we're talking big game today, man. Thanks for being on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
So if 5 years ago someone tells you that in 5 years you'll be doing a podcast a couple days after shooting a brown bear, what would you have said to that person?
Maybe in my dreams, something along the lines of that. Definitely not something that was on my radar. I mean, it was on the bucket list, but I truly didn't think this was going to be something I'd ever have the opportunity to do, and I was super fortunate to be able to go and do what I did.
Yeah. What were some of the emotions right after? We'll kind of get back to the details of it, but just in that final moment when you're walking up on it, was it excitement, relief, overwhelmingness? Was it what was going on in your brain?
It was such a rush all at once. Leading up to actually when we'd first seen the bear and then went to go shoot the bear, I was calm, cool, collected. And it was just immediately after the shot, after we knew that the bear was down, that it just all hit me. My hands started shaking. I got the typewriter leg was going. And it was, oh man. And it was, as we were walking up on it, it was unreal. That's really the best way to put it.
Did you have years worth of kind of excitement, emotion? Did the whole everything kind of culminate? Because people will move up to Alaska for those things that you absolutely can't really do from out of state because it's just too expensive or it's not practical. So did you kind of get 5 years worth of excitement, or are you still just kind of in awe?
It's still kind of I keep looking at the pictures and wow, I just did that. Right in the moment, it didn't quite hit me like that, but it's just setting in, each and every day it just solidified a little bit more. I'm like, holy crap, I actually went and did that.
Is it a little bit sad because you can't really, it never seems like I can put total, I am so excited, I am relieved, I just all of them at one time, but still you can't hang on to that moment for very long. And so we look back at pictures gosh, that was so amazing, that was so great, but that moment seemed to be so short.
You couldn't have said it much better than that. It's it was all over just so quick. I mean, not to get too much into it right now, but couple days, few days into the hunt, and you're always in your mind of, but what if I don't? Not that that's the reason that we go out. Obviously, is to harvest, an animal and to have experiences. But the end goal is to harvest the animal, and it's I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to live in Alaska. I don't know if I'm gonna be here for the rest of my life, or if I'm only gonna be here for another year and a half. Life just seems to take you each and every way, and so it was trying to savor it all at once, but it's also trying to just jam pack it in. I gotta get this done. Somewhat of a sense of urgency to it, and I was trying to keep that sense of urgency on the back burner and live in the moment a little bit.
Yeah, I think this last year, it has been stated so many times, but the last year and a half or so has just really, I think it's made a lot of people take stock in those moments and really try to hang on to those moments a little bit longer, really appreciate them, or to do things and have experiences that are, that level of, dream or wish, just because, whether it be COVID or not being able to travel or lockdowns or whatever it is, I think we appreciate and we try to hold on to those moments a little bit more.
Absolutely, especially when you just don't get too many of them right now. Hopefully here in the near future, we'll get back to, each day it seems we're getting a little bit more normalcy, but gotta enjoy it while it lasts.
For sure. So take me through the trip, the initial planning. How much stuff were you doing on X? Was it a scouting thing? Did you have some buddies that knew where to go? What was the pre-hunt look like?
Yeah, so a couple months ago, rewind to when I first got here. I ended up going to some gun show for work. Met a guy, swapped hunting stories, talking about it. He showed me, all these sheep. He's a big time sheep hunter, and got his phone number and kind of kept in touch with him here and there. Whenever I've had a fun waterfowl hunt, I'll send him some pictures or whatnot, or he'll send pictures. Just kind of talking back and forth. And I'd mentioned that I want to kill a brown bear, as the Alaskan 5, kind of want to do that before I ever had to move away. Those are the top 5 that I want to do. And I was trying to plan with just anyone who had experience with brown bears, because definitely not something that I wanted to try to go do without any prior knowledge. Yeah. I've fortunately never had, and even on this trip didn't have any run-ins with brown bears that were bad in any way. But definitely didn't want to be caught with my pants around my ankles with a pissed off brown bear. But he ended up texting me one day and said, "Hey, we've got room on the boat if you still want to go hunt a brown bear. We're going to go from May 1st through the 9th." And I immediately was like, "Heck yeah, let's go." And so the whole way through there, I was trying not to text him like every other day, like, "Hey, so what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this?" So we're planning on. He kind of gave us the area we're going to. We went to Admiralty Island. Went more towards the southern portion than for the early hunt. May 1st is relatively early for bears, but it helps to cycle through younger bears, sows and cubs. Usually it's boars and bigger boars that are out that early. But in the mornings we're planning on maybe trying to go do some halibut fishing or drop some pots for crab or a number of other things, because we generally wanted to hunt them in the evenings. But it was I had to get it out of my mind that this wasn't a backcountry hunt. It was a little more lax because we were on a 45-foot tugboat that was like a nice camper trailer. So it was pretty. It was a relaxing hunt, and so I had to keep in contact with him, trying to figure out what I needed to bring. And when I would say something, he's like, "Don't need it. It's already on the boat. Don't need it. It's already on the boat." I'm like, I got to get it out of my mind. I'm not going, 50 miles back in. But it was just a lot of questioning to guys that had done it. Obviously I've hunted it and I know somewhat what to expect, but a little different when you move what seems to be all the way across the nation to almost a foreign country. And so it was just a lot of logistics there. I did get some maps downloaded on Basemap. So I had that at my disposal. If I needed that, I did reference it quite a bit, dropping pins whenever we'd see bears or whenever I killed a bear. When I ultimately killed a bear, I dropped a pin on it and whatnot. So just making sure my gear was together. Warm weather and cold weather all at once, and rain because it's Southeast Alaska.
Of course. Was that one of the one bear every 4 years, or is it the one bear every regulatory year by permit?
Correct. Admiralty Island, the permit that I had, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it is a 1 in 4.
Okay.
So that's my one for the next 4 regulatory years. I can harvest on, I think, fall of 25.
Okay. It seems like a lot of people, well, it doesn't seem like there's much of a middle. It seems like the people, like every 4 years are looking for it, or if you're living in an area where it's one per year, like they're going consistently after. And then other people are just, I got my one, I got it out of my system, and there you go. Do you know which one you might be? Or?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that leading up to this. Like, I've always kind of been in my mind, like, I'll probably only ever shoot one. It's probably all I'll ever need. And I definitely wouldn't say that I want to shoot one every single year, but I'd like to challenge myself a little bit. I would like to kill a mature boar with my bow next. We've got mainland here has one every year. I don't know how doable it is, but I'm eager to learn it. And I'd like to get one, like a peninsula bear or an interior bear too. Definitely don't think I'm going to be doing it every single year, at least for the brown bears, because plain simply they take up too much room in your house, even if they're rugged. It's a whole wall. But I'd like to try to get one with my bow. I think it's the ultimate goal. I wouldn't say I'm looking for, a 10-footer. I'll always have a tag in my pocket, just in case, that 10-footer walks out. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on that. We'll see how it goes in the next couple of years.
Yeah. The Southeast program can be really fun because you can have, if you got a nice boat to kind of call home base, you're not really roughing it. It's nice. You sleep on the boat. You're having hot food. It's not like some of those programs up north where you have to you're either flown in or you take a vehicle somewhere and then you go back in further and it's just kind of, a lot more rustic. The Southeast anchor in a nice boat program is just super nice. That alone would be worth coming to Alaska for, or a weekend excursion. And then you add on top of that the hunting experience. And it's just, how could you not want to do that again?
Oh, I absolutely got to experience Southeast in a different way than I have it in the past with just waterfowl hunting. Just between the wildlife that we saw, it was about an 8-hour boat ride from Juneau to the spot that we went. And we saw porpoise, we saw humpbacks. We ended up seeing one orca during the hunt, sea lions, seals, river otters, sea otters, tons of different ducks and geese. I probably have 4, 5, 6 hours of video of geese on my phone from my phone scope as we're sitting there glassing, waiting for bears. It was just such a target-rich environment for so many different species.
So you got to the spot. Did you anchor and glass from there? Did you get ashore? What was the first step one of the program once you got there?
Yeah, so we pulled the boat into the one of the bays. We did hit a couple different spots, or we did anchor up in a more centralized spot. We were running the little aluminum hold rib boats to kind of go up into drainages and arms and whatnot. We got there probably around 6 o'clock the first day, and right before we dropped anchor, it wasn't long before we'd seen our first bear. It was a small, we called it the Hershey bar bear, because he was rubbed out everywhere but underneath. So he had really light color rubbed and just dark, almost black underneath, small bore. And so we basically just anchored up, got gear ready, got boats down, and we buzzed up into an arm. And, every day we'd head out. About 3 o'clock seemed to be the magic hour that we'd leave. But it seemed that the bears liked to show up at 7. 7 o'clock was really when they wanted to pop out. First night we went in, I wasn't expecting anything, and sitting there glassing. And that is one thing that I would say, I was so glad that I had nice glass, because you just spend a lot of time. We would just get to a point in the drainage that our wind was good. From what they were telling me and what I was starting to gather throughout the hunt is you will not fool their noses.
No.
They rely on them way too much. So we'd be waiting for not true thermals here. They don't switch quite as reliably as, say, back west on like an elk hunt, but we'd wait for stuff to switch before we try to get in. Ended up spotting 2 bears the first night. I spotted up the first one. It was a big bear, but we were concerned that we couldn't tell if it was a boar or sow. We were thinking that it might have been a sow, which is how the nose was sitting. But then after we got back to the boat and watched the phone scope footage of it, we quickly were like, that's a boar. It's a big bear. But we couldn't have made a play on it that night just due to the wind. They were saying, don't go blow out a whole drainage on a bad stock, because it can ruin it for 4 or 5 days, and that could cost you the hunt. So that was the first night. Second day, went back in. We kind of pushed it a little bit on the wind. We got to the spot where we had seen that bear come out, and we got in. Wind was kind of sucking up in, so we weren't really too hopeful. And I'm sitting there wondering, when's this bear going to come out? If it's going to come out, probably isn't going to come out. I sit there and I look at my phone, and I'm watching the phone scope video that I have of that bear. And in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, I'm going to summon this thing. And I kid you not, about 45 seconds into the video, I look up and that same bear just walked right out on the second night. And, look over at the guy that was with me, backing me up. And he looked at it for a split second, just turned, looked at me and shook his head and said, shoot it. And so we waited, got to a pretty good spot where it was coming out. We were hidden behind a log in the middle of the open, and took a shot. And he went to back me up. He didn't have a great shot, but he's, just try to get another one in it. Thought it was a good hit. And then I put another shot, almost took a third shot. And I mean, I'm just so excited because I'm like, holy cow, I just shot my bear. This is awesome. And we didn't get it on video because that would have helped a lot. But long story short, we went and looked in to see if we could find it because it wasn't laying there. And we couldn't find blood. We couldn't find anything. Went back the third day, the next morning, and it was just raining and still couldn't find any sign. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what the heck did I do wrong? Was my windage turret off? And so I went to go look at that. And even before I looked at my elevation, my heart sunk. I was like, I didn't set my turret back to 0 the last time I went out to the range.
Oh boy.
Because after I made sure my 100-yard 0 was on, I went and played at some longer distances just to throw a couple rounds. And I never set it back. So it was a clean miss on both my shots.
Wow.
Yeah, set for almost 500 yards, and I shot right over it.
Jeez. What were you shooting?
300 Win Mag.
Okay. That's what you normally shoot?
I normally shoot a bow, but yeah, I bought this rifle, 300 Win Mag, to be my Alaska rifle. Run a 200 grain bullet out of it, which the guy that was backing me up and kind of helping me, letting me know, hey, yeah, this is a bear we probably want to take. He was hunting too, but he shot enough of them. He's like, I'm not shooting one until it's like a 10-footer shows up after you've shot your bear. Mm-hmm. But he was shooting a 460 Weatherby and like 520 grain bullet or something like that as a backup. So making sure no bears were going to come eat us.
Yeah. What was your practice regimen? Were you going weekly, monthly, or did you just kind of, when you got a chance to go out there, and how much were you putting down range, especially because it's not exactly easy to get a lot of ammo these days?
I'll be honest with you. I zeroed in my gun last year. I haven't shot it a lot since then. I went back to the range and shot a few good groups just to make sure that I was there and my gun was still on it. And I went from there. Just, I have about 3 boxes of ammo is all I've got. And I of course work at a gun store, and even my ammo that I've got has not been coming in at all over the last year. So I've been pretty conservative with my shots.
Yeah. It's kind of it's unfortunate because you want to put as much down there as possible, but at the same time you want to have plenty that you're going out with. So
Absolutely. Oh, I took plenty of bullets.
So what's next in the story?
So day 3, we went looking for just to do our due diligence to make sure I didn't hit the bear, because if you do hit the bear, for brown bears you are required to punch your tag. So we just made sure, instead of rushing it and then maybe a couple days later, I'd hit it, it didn't bleed, and we see eagles or ravens flying over. But we went back the second time, didn't find it. Once I realized that my turret was off, we're like, oh, well, yeah, I missed. That day was probably the worst day of weather we had. It did rain frequently, but that was it was blowing and blowing and blowing, and it was cold and wet. That's where wearing good gear came into play. Every single one of us had nice gear. We were all running Sitka, Kuiu, all that higher end stuff, which made it a lot more comfortable than if we were definitely underprepared.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
So third night we went for another sit in a different spot because we had just tromped through all the woods there in that one drainage. And figured we'd give it a rest and just had shot at a bear the night before. I went to a new drainage, didn't see anything. Day 3 was the only day out of all the days we were there that we did not lay eyes on a bear.
How did that make you feel? Were you thinking you had your shot and then now you're not going to get another shot?
Oh, that's absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I was very fortunate to be able to actually tag out on one. There was one other guy with us who, 4 of us went total. We all had tags. 2 of the guys weren't really there to hunt. They were there more so because they were a little bit more experienced, could help us pick a bear that was a good bear and just be there to help put shots down just in case. The other guy, unfortunately, didn't end up getting a shot. He had one shot on what we would consider a shooter bear, but it was just everything was so fast, and just wasn't able to get the shot off. So I was absolutely freaking out after I shot at that one and missed it. I just blew my chance, my once in a lifetime chance. And I mean, all the way back to the boat, and the next day I was beating myself up pretty bad. But fortunately, we went out 4th day and went to a different spot, a little bit different arm. We knew that a bear had been. So the first day that we got there, when we were sitting, as I had seen that the bear that I had shot at, we heard shots in another drainage, and we knew that the other 2 guys wanted to go up there. But it was about 20 minutes after we left the boat, so we knew that they weren't already in position to get up in there. We think there was an outfitter. There's a lot of outfitters that frequent this area. So they had shot a boar up there. When we went on day 4, we could see birds swarming over a carcass, and so we were concerned that whole arm could have been blown out. It was a pretty big arm, so we decided to sit it one day, and it started off slow. We were sitting there. We were sitting there glassing. I saw cacklers. I saw a banded cackler goose. I saw speckle bellies. I saw snows, all these different birds. And so it was cool to see that, but it was just real slow. And the way we're positioned, we couldn't see all the way behind us. And we would frequently check it. We didn't want to too much because if wind was swirling and kicking stuff around, I was about to check it, and I didn't. About 5 minutes later, the guy that was with me popped behind the trees, looked, and I just heard, and he just snapped at me and pointed and said, and basically was saying, get your crap. There's a bear. We got to go get a closer look at it. It's about a quarter mile away. I mean, most of this that we're glassing is 1,800 yards away. So, I mean, we were spending time on spotters and binos and really, really diving into it. But we hustled over there. That quarter mile didn't feel like a quarter mile. It felt like 200 yards because we booked it over there. And I'm sitting there getting my shooting sticks and my earplugs ready, not even have looked at the bear yet, more than a split second. And I'm sitting there getting ready for a shot, and the guy that was with me, he turns and looks at me. He's like, "Look at the bear," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, duh." I had to pick up my binos, and I was looking at him. And the big reason why he told me to look at the bear was obviously to look at it, see if it's a bear that I wanted to shoot. But the bear was laying down, and they had told me the 2 days before that generally if a bear is laying down, it's usually signifies that it's a younger bear or a juvenile, because the big bears don't really lay down out in the open at all. And so my first thought was, well, that thing's a small bear. It's laying down. But I didn't realize what it was doing. There's about I'd say a 7-foot log, big, thick, round log, and it had picked it up with its front paws and was almost twirling it and rolling around with it like a baton, kind of playing around with it. And,
Wow.
And as soon as he saw that, he said, that's a big bear. He's like, he's got a big head, and if he can pick up that, whatever 300-pound log and just twirl, it's like, that's a big bear, we're shooting it. And so he wasn't sticking around. He rolled around a little bit, and then he was up and he was walking. And we had positioned to the opposite side of this little trees that were there, and it's a 120-yard shot. I ended up putting 2 pretty quick shots into it, and just for safe measure, the bear was already down and basically dead, but we put the third one in him just because he said, if their head's up, I've seen them get up and go away. So, and it was all over that quick.
That's crazy. That's awesome. So then you go up to it and you're looking at it. What were you posing for pictures? Were people telling you to pose for pictures? Were you just gone? What was going on?
Well, of course, we walked up, made sure it was actually down and not gonna, come up at us. And then, I kind of just sat there for a second. I was just kind of looking at it, and we dropped our packs up above it a little bit. It was kind of in a little bit of a drainage, little creek, and then it was just kind of the guy that was with me popped his camera out, and he said, "Dude, you just do what you're gonna do." He's like, you don't even concern yourself with what I'm doing." And I was just kind of sitting there and just admiring it for a little while, and then we got situationed up, got the actual, make sure the bear's posed, get a good picture of it. Well, first and foremost, we did tag before we did that.
Oh yeah,
got the tag notched off. Yeah, didn't want to get caught slacking on that for sure. And we got all that together, and we didn't rush the pictures, but we weren't lollygagging because we shot them at 7:30, and we knew that we had some processing to do, get them caped out, and didn't necessarily want to walk back to the raft in the dark. So
yeah, exactly.
Luckily, the guy who I was with used to be a taxidermist, so honestly, I kind of just stepped back, and he kind of just hopped in there. I maybe had gotten a quarter of that bear done, and he had the other 3/4 done. It was, nice. When I was like, "Sorry, man, I'm being slow," and he looks at me, he's like, "So how many brown bears have you skinned?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, none." He's like, "Exactly. Don't worry about it."
Yeah. I really like most of the pictures that just seem the most honest are the ones where the person in the picture doesn't really know the picture is being taken. And you get more of that emotion from it, because it's those pictures of someone kneeling next to a brown bear. Like, those are a dime a dozen. They're fun. They're great, of course, but it's already a big bear. And so if you do everything you can to make it look even bigger, you don't really get a true idea of how big it is. If you're doing the quarter mile behind it kneel and the thing looks like, an absolute monster, like, well, is it a really big one? Like, why are you going through all those efforts to make it look huge? So I really like those just honest pictures of, man, this is me next to the bear. I didn't even know the picture was being taken. I really, really like those. It just captures something different. Same thing with like fishing. I love a good trophy photo, but I'm really digging those other ones a little bit more. Absolutely,
it tells a story in and of itself.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, and then I'm still struggling to find words at some points. I as soon as we shot it and it was laying down, I picked up my phone and just started kind of recording my reaction just for a little bit, just for an Instagram story. And I mean, my hand's just sitting there, and I couldn't even. I said, "Well, and I mean, I was kind of huffing and puffing, and the guy finally hopped in and was like, "He just shot a brown bear." And I'm like, "Thank you." Like, I just couldn't get it out.
I like the pose that you have next to it, where you're just kind of sitting down next to it. You got the hand on it, got the rifle in front. That's a sweet pose.
Well, the thing that I was meaning to get at, and I lost my train of thought, but we're talking about how posing up that picture to look huge and massive. I didn't sit behind this thing. I didn't sit at the end of it, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, you're a really small guy. You make that bear look big." But I mean, in that picture, like my hands on it, you can see kind of my leg kicked out right at this, like right next to the snout. Like I was sucked up to this thing. I didn't need to make it look big, and even at that, it's just like, I shot a bear that I wanted to shoot, and of course, you want to shoot a mature animal. But I'm happy with what just happened and what went down, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, when people try to reduce it or diminish it by saying, "Oh, is it really bad?" "Oh, it's not a bad one," or maybe you should wait. Just like, dude, man, just be happy. Like, why do some people have to go out of their way to try to diminish the experience by making those comments? Maybe they don't realize what they're doing, but just be happy. Hey, great job, man. Awesome bear. Great job. Glad you're happy. I know it's kind of a weird dynamic that we hunters do.
Yeah. A little bit of jesting is fine, but no, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, especially if it's like someone you know. It's like, okay, I know this person.
I expect my friends to do that. Oh, look at that tiny thing,
Yeah.
It's just all in good fun. But
yeah, that's great. So what are you going to do with it? You going rug?
That's the question, isn't it? What am I going to do with it? Honestly, I'd like to do life size, but that is not in the foreseeable future. I'm currently living in, I don't even know how many square foot tiny apartment in Juneau above somebody's garage. There's no room even for a rug right now. We got it fleshed out. Like I said, the guy who I was with used to be a taxidermist. So he helped me flesh it out. We salted it up. Currently it's drying right now with its last round of salt. And when my taxidermist gets back to Utah, he's actually up here in Alaska right now hunting black bears in Toke. I'm going to be sending it down to him, and I'm just going to get it tanned. And, down the road, I'll figure out what I want to do.
Nice.
Definitely going to be something that's probably going to be in a house that I built or something like that. And It's going to remain the rest of its days there.
Yeah. Black bear in Toke, huh?
Yep. He's got some clients up there that are good friends of his. He's going up there.
Gotcha.
He's the guy that I've been sending all my birds to. He's a big time bird guy, and he's got some emperor geese that he's going to be mounting for him up there, and they're going to go black bear hunting too.
Such a different program for black bear in the interior. When I think of black bear, obviously I'm impartial because I think, well, why would anybody want to go anywhere else but Prince of Wales Island? And after people started writing articles in magazines in the mid-90s, early 2000s about how big the animals were and how many there were, a lot more people come up and it just kind of becomes the destination. Then you think brown bear, you think Kodiak, elk, you think of Fognak, caribou, North Slope. But Toke black bear, that'd be sweet. New program.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely one of those guys that, if you said elk in Alaska, it was a Fognak. I didn't know that there was, Edlin Island and all that stuff. And, or I was, brown bear, Kodiak, and it's, you attribute that to, all these hunting shows we watch. A lot of people watch Meat Eater, and, those are the stuff that they showcase. And so it definitely, once you move here, you realize that, there's a lot more to this state than just those big names you hear.
Yeah. I would say that once you've lived here, Admiralty brown bear definitely it's talked about quite a bit. And if you're local, that's a real big opportunity, and it's not as big as Kodiak, but it's much more comparable than, say, like the comparison between an Edlin elk and a Fognak. No one really talks a whole lot about Edlin for elk, but a lot of people know of and want to get and go out of their way to go hunt Admiralty.
Yeah. They call it the Fortress of Bears, and I think there's 4 bears per square mile as far as population goes.
Pretty crazy, and it's not even an very easy spot to get to because the only Angoon is the major city on the island there, but it's 400-500 people. It's a pretty small spot. Big island, tons of brown bear, and lots of space.
Yeah, I think total between all 4 of us, I think we tallied it up. I think we saw 12 bears in 9 days, which seems like a lot, but from what they're saying is it's really not compared to how many bears are truly on Admiralty.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't have to be seen. They can live anywhere. There's so much territory. They're not consolidated. You look at some of those spots up north, Katmai, that have those rivers, and there's a ton on each one of those rivers, and there's not a problem because there's enough food to go around, so you don't have to worry about bears getting super grumpy because there's enough food. But things can be a little bit consolidated in those areas. It doesn't seem like that's necessarily as true in some of those other areas because there's so much to eat, so many little creeks that have food, and fewer people around to kind of bother them or get them used to humans.
Oh, you could definitely tell that these bears were I wouldn't say shy, but whenever they would hear a boat out in the distance, they would not stay out on the tide flats or anything like that. They would go into the trees. We had a couple Coast Guard cutters, coming by doing their rounds or whatever they do, and anytime that they'd hear that, if you were watching a bear, it would right into the trees. They weren't messing around.
No. That's the sad thing, the really unfortunate thing. The people that get the best images of brown bears and grizzlies are the ones who are able to get that close. And so the bears seem much more tame and much more civil.
Definitely or not.
That percentage of the population is so small. They've been peopled, and it's so dangerous going forward because those pictures go back and the education becomes a miseducation about how friendly bears are, how they're kind and they have personalities, and how they're tolerant of people. You can be in their space and it's okay. You just have to be brave enough. But if you go to real areas where they're not used to people, that's not going to be the case. Or if you happen to be there, and this happened with Timothy Treadwell, he was there later than usual when it was the last weeks of pack on pounds mode, and there weren't as many fish around, so you're going to have more aggressive bears. And it's just
ornery.
It's just not. It's not the same, and the education that goes on sometimes is not beneficial. It's a false education.
Yeah. I'm looking to go up a little bit north of here, just barely. It's in Berners Bay. And I was talking to the guys that I went with. They're like, "Ooh, those bears up there are ornery. The ones on Admiralty aren't ornery, but the Berners bears, they've got an attitude." And I've not had to have any run-ins with bears, but I get what you say about there's this persona that they're these cuddly little creatures because someone's able to capture that essence of them. I watched mine rolling around with a log. What more cute and cuddly is that? I mean, It was cool to be able to see, that. I got to see a little bit of what that bear was. Who it was, because they do have their own personalities and whatnot.
For sure.
I've noticed that there is definitely a stigma, even in hunting, when it comes to predator and specifically bear and brown bear hunting.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of guys one and done. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm definitely gonna like to try a little bit more, but I don't think I need to go shoot 5, 6, 7 brown bears by any means.
No, I think in some areas, like the predator control thing, I know in like the Kotzebue area, there's so many grizzly bears around that they're wreaking havoc on some of the populations of other animals that people depend on for food. And so in those cases, because there's nothing there that's keeping the predators in check, it makes more sense for people to maybe go year in, year out and get those, or get other people to come up here. Hey, please, by all means, come up here and take one of these bears, just because it's predating on a food source. And that's, down here in Southeast, there's a couple spots that if you have some logging going on and it pushes bears over into a certain area, and so you have limited space for the bear and deer to coexist, and then, maybe you don't have as many deer. Because those, when those fawns come out, they're so stinking vulnerable, and especially black bear can just absolutely, it's carnage. So
yeah, definitely. Predator hunting, I've noticed, it's just there. It's a different type of conservation and its management. You definitely don't want to go in and just have a heyday and just start thinning everything out. But you get on Admiralty, there's nothing but deer and bears.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to them and a lot of guys at the store too. There's like, yeah, we go over and hunt deer on Admiralty, and as soon as we shoot, we get that deer taken care of quick because those bears learn that that's dinner bell.
Mm-hmm.
easy pickings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. So what's next on the list? I know it's you stay in the moment and appreciate it as much as possible, but Alaska doesn't have time for sitting around. So what's the next thing?
Always on to the next. Absolutely. I do have a chance that I'm going to be going to Kodiak for goats this year in October. Just depends on logistics and everything. I might stay southeast for some goats. The guys that I ended up going with, when I told them I'm going to Kodiak, they're like, "Why? We'll help you go get a goat." So might stay down here. I'd like to try to make a sheep hunt happen this year if I can, but like I said, it's going to be reliant on someone taking me up because I just at least solo, there's no way I'm going to go up. I don't have a problem with a buddy coming up with me, and none of us know anything about sheep hunting, and we just go more or less do a scouting hunt for next year because he's just so many logistics to is he full curl, is he 8 and all that. I'd like to go with someone who's a little more experienced with that, so I'm at the mercy of people who've done it or just nose to the grindstone and go grind it out for a year and kind of check off that I probably won't kill on more just investigative work. So we'll see. Definitely at least goats this year, maybe sheep.
Yeah. That mentoring thing is so unbelievably important. I know the activity of hunting is such one of bravado and all that, and people kind of get in over their heads sometimes, but just being able to ask for help, and I'm glad that I don't have that gene of alpha or whatever it is that I'm just going to just go and do it. Like I want to go and do it, but I want to learn from people first. So I'm going to make the experience much more as effective as possible and not just try to throw money at it or just prove that I'm something. I just want to go and I want someone to show me how so I can do it myself if I want to, or I can be totally happy with that experience. And so having friends and seeking
absolutely.
other people out, it's just so great. And you see how much fun it is for people to teach others. And it's not all that different than being a teacher in that, you get that sense of purpose and you're passing on information and you're helping and you get to see that change in that person when they finally get it. And that's going to be a lot different, hunting a deer versus, understanding symbolism or, some literary term. But it's just fun to have that purpose and allow people to feel that. And then I'm a willing student when it comes to being outside.
Oh yeah. The guys that I went with, they're probably sick of all the questions I was asking, whether it was to do with bears or with goats or with sheep. We're looking at pictures of, these guys have probably shot 15 plus rams themselves. Like they're just go-getters. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, help me count this. I want to make sure I'm counting these rings right. Or, hey, is this? And it's just like, I can't just stop absorbing the knowledge, especially as a lower 48 guy coming up to here. I even imagine if I lived here my whole life, there's just so much that you just can't know.
Yeah.
You're always learning.
And everybody else learned it from someone else too. It wasn't like this person invented any of that. They had people help them along the way. And so it's just kind of the next generation of help or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right. So nothing, what do you got during the summer? You got some fishing, I'm sure, coming up. What's your summer going to look like?
Absolutely. Yeah. As soon as salmon start coming in, whether it's chums or pinks, as soon as they're in, I'm going to be on my fly rod trying to catch some. I ended up catching my first halibut when we went out there. It was super early, and it was a tiny, tiny, tiny halibut, but it was my first one, and it tasted awesome. So hopefully going to do some halibut fishing once it heats up here, and then definitely going to try to spend as much time on my fly rod as I can. The runs up here are pretty fun when you can get out. So
yeah.
I'm going to try to target a little bit more. Last year was just catch. I'm going to try to catch king on my fly rod this year. Spent a lot of rod hours last year. Didn't even have a hookup. So big thing is trying to catch big old king on my fly rod this year.
Nice. Yeah, dude, it's nonstop. Like once April and May show up, it's like you just blink and then it's November. And you think, dude, what happened? There's just always. And
I haven't even started hunting black bears yet either.
And you have to do everything, man. If you don't, then what the heck are you doing living here? But it's fun. It's a fun exercise. And do you have the stamina, and do you have the wherewithal to be able to keep up and do everything?
And the PTO.
Yeah, it's just, oh man, it's so great. It's so awesome.
So Yeah, definitely. Gonna try to go after. I got two black bears I can take down here. I think I'll try to do the first one. Probably just get one under my belt with rifle, and then I'll be trying to go out and get a boar with my bow. Will be what my second tag's reserved for. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
Got a couple guys who want to go out on the boats. Had a buddy who went out yesterday and saw a pretty big boar. Seems like black bears are a little later getting out than the brown bears. So. We're getting into prime time for black bears right now. So
yeah, I'm going to head out this weekend with a buddy, and we're going to a spot that could have brown or black. And I've never taken a brown bear. I've taken 2 black bears, so I'm either one. I got my locking tag for the brown bear, and I got my 2 black bear tags. So we'll see. I'd definitely like to get a brown bear because we're going to a spot that I'm not familiar with, and he went and scouted it this last weekend. So. That should be pretty fun, but there are some good spots for black bear around here, and I still have more time, so I'd like to get a brown bear this weekend if possible, and then black bear after that. But you start having these lofty goals of, well, this week will be the brown bear, and then the black bear, and then the
doesn't
king
always
salmon.
quite work out
Hey,
that way.
let's just chill it. It's not a stinking menu.
it's almost how it feels sometimes. You have like an agenda and an itinerary for it, and it's like it's still hunting at the end of the day. You just definitely try to line it out the best you can. But, you get back from a trip, sometimes you're like, as much as I love it, I want to stay home for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny, too, the people that you talk to when you have these itineraries, like they know what it's like. They don't really mock you. They're just like, okay, yeah, he's got plans. I have plans, too. But we both know that it's very unlikely that it will go as easily as that. I mean, it could be something as absolutely simple as weather. Like, here was the plan, but, oh, yeah, we couldn't even go because we couldn't get across because the weather was terrible and the boat's not that big. And then you can factor in seeing bears, not seeing bears, making shots, whatever, all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah,
just having
you,
that
you
plan.
never know what the weekend before someone had hopped in and shot the bear that you were going to go for. And,
Yeah.
big bears out of there already and weather. Yeah, absolutely. I'm learning all of that a little bit more so that Alaska is very, very, very weather dependent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Makes it great, though, when you happen to get one of those nice days, even if it's just a high ceiling. I really like and appreciate those high ceiling days where it's just calm. It might be a little bit grayer, but high clouds, calm, those are really, really nice days.
Absolutely. Take them when you can.
Absolutely. But, well, what else you got, man? Got some closing thoughts here, closing ideas about experience or motivation for people who want to, in 5 years, say, wow, I can't believe I did it 5 years ago and I moved here, did something great?
Yeah, I've had quite a few buddies sending me messages like, hey, how do I come shoot a brown bear with you? And I tell them, you move up here or you pay $18,000 and go with a guide, minimum. So, really, I moved. I was fortunate, was able to come up here with my company and to further my career. But I moved up here to hunt. So it's make goals, even if it's not a brown bear. Set a goal to come hunt black bears on Prince of Wales or wherever here in Southeast. And get a group of buddies together. Definitely do your due diligence. Hop on. There's tons of stuff on Facebook, and I've noticed that Alaska Facebook forums are a lot different than lower 48. People are a lot more prone to actually help you because they know how hard it truly is. So, if any of you guys are lower 48 guys wanting to do it, just get the ball rolling and start doing it. Definitely not going to fall into your lap, but there are a lot of resources out there, and just jump in. Don't tiptoe. Just take that polar plunge right into the water.
Yeah. I think part of that thing with the Facebook groups is that if someone is on Facebook asking for advice, it's going to be someone who's more like to their speed, because the people who are coming up here to hunt that don't need the Facebook thing, they're paying the money to get ushered somewhere. And so it kind of eliminates the group of people that you might have a conflict with potentially. And it's just that dreamer, that person that, all right, I'll help you. Again, someone helped me, so I'm going to help you. Hey, here's some good information. Then some other people go on there just to be antagonistic, which is whatever. But
yeah, well, here, let me type that into Google for you. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
One other suggestion, and I literally took this to heart when someone told me to do it. Read the Fish and Games guidebook cover to cover and take it with you and read it during the downtime and just understand the regs and all that too, because I could tell when I first got up here, I didn't know the difference between a harvest ticket, a registration, a locking tag. I didn't know any of it.
Yeah. It's a nice thing, too, when you go into the fishing game to get stuff, like they'll give you everything that you need. So you don't have the same
You
danger.
can even talk to a biologist. And
Yeah.
they'll even, possibly tell you, yeah, hey, this is good. This has been, we just did a count. There's good numbers here. There's good numbers here. Whether you can access it or not is different. But I mean, I remember the first time I walked in the fishing game, I asked about something with goats, and they immediately just went and grabbed a biologist and came out and started circling stuff on maps saying here,
Nice.
here, and here. So definitely resources. I know that people are constantly calling fishing game too from lower 48 for stuff like that. They seem to be pretty helpful with that.
Nice. Well, great, man. Thanks. Really appreciate it for being on here. Congratulations on the bear. And then I'm sure we'll be in touch talking some fishing and some black bear in the next couple of weeks.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Thanks. I appreciate you letting me hop on again.
No problem. Take care, and congratulations on the promotion.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Take care.